money. That's why that book I've written is to serve and to say, hey, all mentorship is to help people make choices. That's it. And that's what that book is about. And so I couldn't be more proud of those books and what they represent. But I read Paul Robeson's, I read biographies, I read about Sidney Poitier, I read about Belafonte. And when I started my career, those were the three men I wanted to be like. And then I mentioned earlier, being here in Harlem reminds me of my first movie, because Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee lived right here. And one of my first major films was called Get on the Bus, Spike Lee directed. And I got a chance to sit next to Ozzie Davis for that entire movie because our characters sat next to each other on the bus. And even when we didn't have scenes, we're sitting next to each other. So he would tell me stories about Malcolm X coming to his house for breakfast, about Dr. King showing up, about, you name Stokely Carmichael, you go down the list. And you realize that the idea of artist as activist, artist as political figure is a part of our history and our fabric of our culture. And that's why the evolution and how, I've seen my evolution that way. No, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So, in a place with so much history and the way that you have been able to interact with people with so much history, help us take that history and frame the moment that we're in now. We're here to talk about the future of black politics. What is the future of black politics relative to this history of black liberation, Malcolm X, Paul Robeson? What does the future of black politics look like? We are dying. We are dying right now. Literally. And that's why I've made such an extreme choice to run for arguably the most powerful seat that's up for election in 2024. Many people think it's the presidency, but they're wrong. That's something drilled into me when I was at Harvard Law School. My constitutional law professor would drill it into us that the United States Senate is by far the most powerful body in all of politics. And I know many of you are too young to remember, there used to be this thing on TV with these cartoons, I'm just a bill, I'm only a bill, I'm sitting up on Capitol Hill, Schoolhouse Rock. Well, at Harvard Law School, they taught Schoolhouse Rock. And my kind of law professor would be like, obviously the judicial branch rules on the constitutionality of what the U.S. Senate passes. The executive branch or the president either signs or vetoes what the Senate passes. The Congress or the House of Representatives comes up with a bill, passes it to the U.S. Senate. The U.S. Senate can change it in any way it wants, can rename it, can replace everything in it and pass it. So what does that tell you? The people who are in charge of the $6.2 trillion federal budget, and where all of your money goes, are 100 people. 100 people. And it's completely unequally weighted because the makeup of the U.S. Senate is a vestige of Reconstruction and slavery, trying to give these southern conservative states political power. So right now, you have fewer people in North Dakota with 2 senators and a congressperson than the black people in Washington, D.C. who don't have any representation in the most powerful federal body in the country. The simple fact is, if we don't start controlling where the money goes, we will continue to see our communities atrophy and die.
And unfortunately, our voter participation has dwindled to such a degree because we've never seen a return back on our investment that exactly what's happened is what the system wants to happen, is that we've checked out of the process. And if we don't figure out a way back in to light each other up, recruit each other, create new movements of participation, particularly when there's opportunities, then we will continue to see our communities die.
I can't hear what you're saying because
I look back at our communities like Seneca Village here in Manhattan, or Paradise Valley in Black Mountain in Detroit, or Bronzeville in Chicago, or Wilmington, Durham, Rosewood, Greenwood in Tulsa, and you think about the recirculation of the dollar. You think about the ability to control the resources and how resources are distributed. You think about the wealth gap decreasing in those communities. You think about education increasing. Everything is opposite of what's happening now. And unless we actually get conscious and start to make it unacceptable to someone sitting to your left or to your right to not get political and participate? Because not participating is participating. Not voting is voting. And not running for office is a cop-out. Too many scared, go along, get along Negroes run for office. And then we kind of elect them. And then they sell us out.
So how do people overcome that skepticism that they might have about the system, about voting rights?
They decide that they are singularly powerful. The system is only as powerful as the people give it power. And if we, the people, decide that we are going to reclaim our power, let me just give you an example. In Michigan alone, it's going to take 600,000 votes for me to win the primary. Okay? Democratic primary is August 6th. 600,000 votes. You know how many eligible black voters in the state of Michigan? 950,000. During Coleman Young years, when he was mayor of Detroit, 60 to 65% turnout. That would be 650,000 votes at that turnout level. We control every election. And the same is true here. In virtually everywhere, there is a population of over 15% African American. Why? Because these are Democratic primaries. We can control every election in virtually any place we have a critical mass. I mean, think about this. Mississippi has never had any black power politically, and it's almost 28% of the population. They can control every election in that state, but they've undereducated the populace, they've convinced them they have no power, and our community is poor, illiterate, and is checked out. And gerrymandering has a lot to do with it, but you can stop gerrymandering by showing up. And we have bought into that. We've bought into that thesis, and we've allowed it to happen. And this is what's so tragic about our generation. We've allowed it to happen on our watch. Folks who got resources got real comfortable, and they checked out on their own and said, you know what, it's not really my problem, I'm doing all right. And folks who don't have resources have got punched in the face so much that they basically have submitted and said, I'm either going to check out through drug use, I'm going to check out through just checking out, or I'm going to check out through the mass incarceration system.
So let's go down that thread a little bit. People that you're talking about who are looking to go past the economic opportunity, in some places they're seeing laws related to DEI, related to affirmative action, and college admissions, roadblocks thrown in their way right now. What do you say to those folks? How do we as an educated electorate push on those kinds of policies?
Is there a physics professor here by chance? Is there somebody who dated a physics professor here? I'm going to use physics to answer this question, so I wanted to get backed up by a physics professor. Physics tells us, there's a law in physics that says to move a mass that's in stasis, you need an equal or greater amount of energy or force to do that. Has anybody ever heard of that? Okay, so what that means is the level of force or energy you apply to a problem or an issue or a subject that's either moving or not moving determines its direction and outcome. And what I would suggest to you is that the opposition has out-energied us. They put a boot on our neck, we squirm, and they'll dig it in deeper. And we ask for mercy. And they do it in multiple ways. In our community, we can agree on 9 things out of 10, we disagree on 1, say, I can't work with them. The opposition, they disagree on 9, they agree on 1, and they storm the Capitol. We need collective action. And not only collective action, we need collective aggressive action. Yet when people start talking about this, we get ostracized. And people say, man, slow down. You about to mess with my money. Oh, no, slow down. You're going too far. Slow down. Don't do that. Don't say that. They're not going to like that. Well, who's they? Who is they? Until we actually look in the mirror and decide we're going to show up with the level of energy necessary to meet the problem, we're not going to see the results. And I'll just tell you this, just by virtue of you all sitting here, you are not the problem. You've shown up to to talk about black political power. I mean, you are the leaders. So this is the leadership group. Or you wouldn't have taken your time to show up and look around at who's here. And then say, how can we collaborate? Because it's going to take collective collaboration, collective energy. Even institutions that are already grouped together, we have trouble getting together. The great institution of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I tried to get my brothers to give $19.06. If I got every alpha to give $19.06, we would be able to afford to win this election. And what was said earlier, they spend $19.06 at any number of places. Right? So, but to get folks the power is in the collective. Physics tells us one more thing that's very important. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. That means that there's enough collective energy to solve whatever problem is here, but it has to be grouped together. One person, and we have such a history in our community of letting one person get out front and then they take them out. They take them out through scandal, they take them out through negative ads, they take them out with a bullet. If we start to protect each other, if we start to lock arms and march forward together, we become unbeatable because of the collective nature of the energy. This group right here could change the political trajectory of black politics in America. Just this group. But if we keep leaving these places and then really not having any connective tissue, it all gets dispersed and nothing ever happens.
So on that thread, we have leaders in this room. There's people who I know in this room who are sitting on their community boards, sitting on various nonprofit boards, even some sitting on corporate boards. How did you go from civically engaged leader to political candidate? And what would you say to the folks in this room who are considering that path?
I would say if you even have the inkling of an intuition to run for office, we need you to run. If it's ever even popped into your head, we need you to be a candidate. Because the opposition is out there actually recruiting people to fill up any number of positions, whether it go from school board to dog catcher through the U.S. Senate. They're recruiting, again, back to energy. So if you have an intuition to be a candidate, run for office, no matter what it is. That's number one. And number two, for me, you know, my young brothers and sisters talk about being, basically we have a saying, they say to me, when you 10 toes, it shows. You 10 toes down, it shows. When I see injustice, I can't sit on the sideline. In Michigan, the Democratic Party has for years gone to the black community and said, Michigan's a red state until black people vote. Detroit, Wayne County, you have to save the country. You have to turn out, show up and vote. Yet, in this particular election cycle, with an open U.S. Senate seat, they did not come to the black community in Michigan at all and say, who would you like to see in the seat? You've been there for us for year after year after year after year. It's disrespectful. It's insulting. And the fact is, we can't give away an open U.S. Senate seat. We can't seat it. We can't allow, and I said this earlier, what's the definition of insanity? Continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a what? A different result. Yet we continue to do that politically with the Democratic Party. And that doesn't mean vote Republican. And that just means run for office and don't vote for the establishment candidate. Because Republicans, they're weaponizing racism and all sorts of things. And that's what they try to make it binary without actually asking the question of who do you want to see in office and what type of candidate do you want to see? And can we create a wave of black political power? Because I guarantee you, if we're able to deliver this seat, it'll be very similar to what you saw with Trump in 2016, where a wave of similarly minded candidates are empowered and emboldened because we proved we could be viable against the Democratic establishment.
But tell us more about even your journey as a candidate now. You're going up against the establishment.
That's right.
And they tried to throw some things your way.
That's right.
Let's tell us proud about it.
Let's be honest. I know that the person who I'm fighting a lot against is your guy. You guys have cheered him on. Don't look at me quizzically. Yeah, Chuck Schumer. You kept him in office. You kept him around. You think he's you think you think that he's a friend of our power and our representation. But folks like to be in the picture with him, don't they? Folks like proximity to power. Folks get scared. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with big donors, with a lot of melanin, who say, you're great, but I don't want to get sideways with Chuck Schumer. I said, what Chuck Schumer ever done for you? What has he ever done for you that's impacted your dinner table? Then people get a little nervous and scared. Why? Why? We have to start being bolder. We have to start being bolder. And we have to start being transparent and just telling the truth. Trump has given these white folks permission to do anything. On both sides, you see? So the Democratic Party used to be performative at least. They still would do what they want in the back door, but they would at least come to you and say, hey, Pastor, who would you like to see in this seat? In fact, we're forming the Pastors Alliance. And the Pastors Alliance for the Democratic electorate. Now, somehow their candidate always was the one to rise to the top, but at least there was the Pastoral Alliance. Now there's no, it's just like, this is who you're all voting for, take it or leave it. This is the candidate. And again, it's disrespectful. But why should we expect them to respect us if we don't respect ourselves? If we don't actually demand and then act on those demands. Every time they come to us and say, save this election, and we don't ask for something in return. Why? What are we afraid of? I would suggest to you that we're afraid of our own power. Because if we actually step up and go all in, and part of it, let's just be honest, a lot of our community got sold hope and change, and nothing changed. And that hurts. And like I said earlier, many people think that the response to the Barack Obama election was the Tea Party. I would suggest to you that the true response was Citizens United in 2011, allowing all dark money into politics, unlimited corporate money, unlimited special interest money. It makes it almost impossible unless the candidate groups a massive amount of collective power and money together to win a major seat like a U.S. Senate seat statewide. It literally crushes competition, and therefore the establishment has the ability to win every time. So the only way we can win these big seats is if we come together en masse, and support each other en masse. That's how we create true power, and that's how we create true political power. So that we get to a point where they have to come to us. They have to give us a seat at the table and say, Who do you want to see? Because we know we can't win this unless you get behind it. And right now we don't have that, and we don't have an instrument or a system for collective action.
And it sounds like we also need people who are going to be in those seats who are going to say no
Yes,
when they're offered
that's exactly right.
$20 million.
That's exactly right.
to do
We need
something
people
fair.
sitting in the seats that aren't go along, get along, that can't be bossed or bullied, and aren't looking for the next come up. And unfortunately, that's what we have. Let's be honest.
So one of the questions that came in was specifically related to healthcare and Black maternal health.
Yes.
As you think about issues related to access to healthcare, access to economic equity, what are the things we should be doing and pushing for as a community that preserves specifically Black maternal health?
Yes. Well, first of all, there's no question that we have to pass. I don't care what term you want to use, whether it's Medicare for all, whether it's universal health care, safety net, whatever. The point is, if you get sick, you should be able to see a doctor and ultimately never have to file bankruptcy because you did. Right now, the number one cause of personal bankruptcies is catastrophic medical. Michigan just kicked 350,000 people off of Medicaid, 100,000 facing life-threatening illnesses. We pay the highest for prescription medicines anywhere in the world. And the reason why we do is because in 2022, as an example, Big Pharma spent $373 million on elections. In the presidential year 2024, how much are they going to spend this year? I get threats into my campaign that say, Hill, if you keep talking about Big Pharma or Big Oil, the independent expenditure, meaning the super PAC, it gets the dark money from those institutions, are going to spend so much money sullying your name. And here's the deal. Remember, when you're running for political office, you can't sue for defamation. They can say anything they want. And it doesn't have to have a shade of truth in it. And there's nothing you can do about it except fight fire with fire, meaning run your own ad that is counter to that narrative. That's why the funding is so critical. Because literally, I've gotten threats from Enbridge, which is the oil company that has the pipeline underneath the Great Lakes. Threats from Big Pharma, Big Oil, the NRA, and obviously the Israel lobby. So, let's be clear. Right now, money's controlling politics. And the only way I can fight back is to be able to run a counter narrative, even though I know there'll be lies put out. So, what does that mean? It just means, again, collective energy and action.
So, folks in this room, many of whom, especially those who go to a place like Columbia, are dealing with issues related to First Amendment.
Yes.
And related to your point, issues related to Israel and Palestine. You've been very vocal about a ceasefire. Why is that?
There is no good war and there's no bad peace. And fundamentally, when we think about humanity, we have to apply that consistently across the board. Every human life has to have equal value. And when we get into a point where we're picking winners and losers and we're weighting values, then we have completely gone off the moral compass and moral rails, and we've let folks win. And the fact that I'm only one of two major Senate candidates in the country to call for ceasefire just shows you how powerful that special interest lobby money is. Come on, y'all. I mean,
Why should Black folks care? I think that's what make that connection
Why?
for folks.
We should care because it's already happening to us. And we're sending billions of dollars to support something that's already happening in our community here that could have been solved and needs to be solved through the investment of resources. There's a $6.2 trillion federal budget. vast majority of that money goes to our military-industrial complex that is unchecked and unfettered. And we can always find money for foreign violence, but we can't find money for health care. We can't find money for public education, to educate our kids how to read. We can't find money to support small businesses in our communities and give zero-interest loans. We seem to always be able to find money for institutions that have extremely high spending on elections. The money's always there for the institutions and causes that are supported by those. The major banks, the major healthcare institutions, the insurance companies, we can go on and on and on. Foreign governments that are represented by big donors. Yet, if you don't have much agency or voice in the process, you're left out and you're locked out. In fact, you're locked up. But the beautiful thing about it is if we understood that if we started to participate in the electoral process, we could start to reclaim that power and weight it in a different way. But it's very difficult to convince folks of that. And I'll tell you, when I launched my campaign, we had a slogan, believe in better, and we realized at some point that that just wasn't good. You know why? Because folks don't even believe anymore. So how you gonna believe in better if you don't even believe? They don't even believe. So I asked this group, how do we get people to just believe again? How do we encourage people to say, you know what, you do have power? How do we bring people back to remind us of our magnificence and our brilliance and the fact that every time it looked like we were facing extinction, we showed up and proved that we could organize and fight back? We're at a tipping point right now. But if we don't do it, we truly are, because at the end of the day, they've done such a good job undereducating us. The miseducation of the Negro is a real thing. It was prophetic. And right now, even my social media is an example. Ever since I called for ceasefire, they've shadow banned my Instagram and reduced its reach by 98%. So posts that used to get 50, 60, 70,000 views, I have 530,000 followers. Now they get 2,000, 1,000 views. That's control. So we can't even say, okay, organize through social. It has to be 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. One gets 10. How many people got your phone? 10. Okay, you get those 10, and they get 10. How many you got in your phone? 10. You get 10, and we get 10. It has to be 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. We have to start to organize that way. We can't just rely on general social media outlets, particularly ones that aren't owned by us.
So how do people follow you? How do people stay in touch with you? How do people follow what you're talking about?
Well, one way that could be a direct connect is through, take out your phones and just text this number, you'll get a link. Well, one thing we found we had to do is we had to start reaching people through text, because many folks in our community, shoot, you're working 2-3 jobs, you're not really going on websites. You're not really downloading apps. But what you can do, what they do is they text. So text me at this number, 313-942-4455. And then you'll get a text back. There's a sister who's the 313-942-4455. I'm going to tell you how you remember. 313, that's Detroit's area code. We the 313. And then just remember the number 9, the number before 10, and then remember Jackie Robinson, number 42. Then remember Barack Obama, he was the 44th president. And remember 55, that's pastor's age. So, So you got it. 313-942-4455. You text that number, you're going to get an auto response back, and then you're going to sign in. And then you're part of our ecosystem that we can reach via text. And that, if we can grow this, for instance, then all of a sudden we have a network of texting folks to connect. And what's powerful about that is, number one, it's a company called Community that a black woman is the CEO of. Number two, it's direct messaging en masse, and it doesn't have to be run through an algorithm filter, so we can get whatever message we want out, unfettered and direct. And number three, if anybody in the future is running for office as we build this up, you could say, Hill, I'm running, I need support. Or Hill, I live in this area. How many people with this area code or this zip code are in the system? And then we could just give you that. So we start to create a framework and a fabric or a foundation of community connected, because we may move a lot, but we tend not to change our phone numbers, because that's our access to our friends, family. It's also access to our jobs in many ways. So we have to meet people where they are. And a lot of people in our community, we found, I can say go to hillharper.com, sure. Those folks who go to websites, hillharper.com, go there, please sign up to volunteer, please give a donation, etc. Send other people back and say, please match me. Shoot, if you give $19.06, send it to another 100 people and say, please match me, give it $19.06. That's a way. But also signing up through this community is another powerful way for ongoing engagement.
Awesome. Folks, please give a hand for Brother Hill Harper. So we're going to have two pictures. Can the organizers of this event, including Brother Bird, please come up and take a picture?
Can I say this real quick? I like to end with an affirmation, because the work that I'm talking about here is very difficult. And what I find is that unless you either have a circle or a posse that keeps you motivated, you have to be your own. Once I got to Hollywood originally, I realized this is why people have entourage. You got to have your own. You got to be your own hype man or woman. So say this with me with a little vocal energy, please. I will not allow fear to stop me from making the choices and taking the actions that I already inside know I should take. I will act with courage without fear. I will be energized, dynamic, and magnificent. And I will win at all that I do. And in so doing, collectively, bring the energy necessary to change the condition for my life and my community. Amen.
Come on, let's give it up for Brother Hill Harper. Come on, let's stand to our feet and give him a good Harlem thank you. Quickly, we're going to close out now with final remarks. Quickly, we want our Brother Jeremy Montrose to come and close us out. He's representing A.M.E chapter, the A.M.E chapter Alumni Association.
Brother Harper, it's been a terrific evening. As we close, I ask that we reflect on the opportunity that we have at hand to place Brother Harper in the most powerful position that a black man can be at any part within our illustrious government. Once again, we must seize the opportunity to empower communities, not just within Michigan, but across all of America. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Organizers, please come to the front.
I know a few people will probably want to stay around for some photos, but we technically are dismissed. We really do appreciate you coming. I didn't introduce myself. Hi, my name is Travis. I'm the treasurer of the Black Alumni Council at Columbia. I also happen to be the former assistant regional vice president of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We will be hosting more conversations like this throughout the year with the Black Alumni Council. We have a Black Leaders Forum coming up, as well as through the Alpha Gamma Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha. We look forward to your continued support, and if you'd like to get involved in the campaign, please feel free to find me afterwards. Thank you so much. God bless.
While we are leaving, our next conversation will actually take place at the end of February at the St. Philip's Church, where we'll be discussing immigration. Right? Oh, right, immigration. So please follow us at Harlem Alphas, at Harlem Alphas 125 on our Instagram account. All right? Harlem Alphas.org. Brothers of Alpha, please come up to the front. Brothers of Alpha, come to the front so we can get this photo. Brothers of Alpha, quickly, please come to the front.